was always a comedian. When he was 5 years old, and he used to go on the stage at the cinema. He used to play.
Thank you very much for coming this morning. It is a pleasure to welcome Cllr Roy Oldham this morning. He has kindly accepted an invitation to unveil our wonderful, unique mural in our newly refurbished community centre. Thank you, Cllr Oldham and Tameside Council for all their financial help to enable us to complete all the work. Right, before I say all the other thank yous, I think we'll let people look at the mural.
Shall we do that?
Yeah. So, currently...
The technicality bit, you stand back a little.
Go on.
Then 1, 2, 3, now. I'd like to welcome everybody, of course, to this building, and it may not surprise you, this is the primary school I went to when I was a child, and I was here until I was 11. It was much bigger then, or it seemed that way, and it was each 2 floors, each divided by a partition, and it was, at the time, young people stayed till they were 14, so there were 7 classes, right? 11 plus came in, so I moved at 11. But it is something which is preserved for me in my memory, and I'd like to thank Tom and yourself, Meryl, and all the committee, and those who worked so hard to keep this building alive and working, because it would have been a crime for it to have fallen down or to be removed because of neglect. So it's in my memory still. My school, your community centre. Now, when I was a teenager, Mr. Lowry moved into the village, Mottram, came to the Elms. The Elms had been in the ownership of the guy who taught music. And when he died, Mr. Lowry came in 1948. And so most of us became familiar with the old guy. We used to stand at the bus stops and he strolled in his large coat, muttering away, and in all kinds of weathers. Anyway, eventually, I decided I would attempt to become a councillor for Longdendale. In 1966, I was elected to this ward, and I've represented it ever since and still do. So I went to see Mr. Lowry at the time, and I asked him if he would sign my nomination papers, and Mr. Lowry signed them, and I still have those nomination papers. So they're of great value and interest to me. Thereafter, I was called in on a number of occasions to give him some help or aid. His gas fire was playing up, so he was really moaning about it, and he could moan. So I sorted it out for him. Then he said, right, you've got to sort me out for a bus stop. I'm sick to death of standing in the rain. No bus shelters then. So we built bus shelters, and apparently I didn't hear this, but my wife Margaret heard it. On the radio, the local radio, Mr. Larry's been interviewed, and he said that we talked about the usual thing, where he'd come from and what he was doing, and he said, do you have any visitors? He said, oh yes. He said, I've got a young man who comes round. He sits with me, talks to me about all kinds of things. He was a socialist. He don't know I'm a Tory. He said, well, I signed his papers for him. So, once you got to know Mr. Lowry, the old grumpy figure he was disappeared, and he was a kind, shy man. And I think that was one of his problems, his shyness. But it was a very interesting period. And actually, eventually, he did me a drawing. When I was the chair of the Longdendale District Council, he did me a drawing which went on my Christmas card. And we need that drawing now. I've had a print made of it and enlarged. And that's exactly what you've got behind you. It's the crown pole with some little children on it and his usual dog and a church at the back. So I'd like to present this to the community centre to set aside the mural which Peter Rowe's done. And so they'll complement each other. The modern artist and the other modern artist. And maybe one day your painting will be as valuable as Lawrence's picture. His only problem, as what he told me, he got his riches and fame too late in life. And it really hurt him that, because he said you can go on railway trains, and they were the old side corridor ones with the off seats. You'll find my paintings in second-class carriages, which were sold for next to nothing, for pounds, and were stuck in those carriages. Now, he said, I'm all famous. He said, now I can paint for money. He said, but I'm too old. And it really hurt him that, as his fame had come too late. So I'll present this to you, Carol.
Thank you very much, Roy.
I would just like to thank Peter personally for doing this, because it's something that will remain here forever with the people who look after this building and those who follow. It will be seen as something extraordinarily different. And thanks to you, Peter, it's here. Thank you.
Everybody's coat on as well.